Yes.
Vlog on a blog. Tomorrow's news today. Get to the truth. Listen, learn, live. Visit us at yadayah.com.
Well, this is actually a thrill for me. We go back 20 years. Can you imagine having a relationship with somebody that you correspond with almost once a week, sometimes more often than that, for 20 years, and have had marvelous communication for 20 years? I have never seen you before and never heard your voice before. But for those who are part of the Covenant family, this is JK. JK is been by far my closest and most helpful, most professional editor. The books of Yada Yahowah are possible because of JK's devotion to them. Had he not done them, they just wouldn't be anywhere close to what they are today. And after 20 years of having a online communication by email, this is our first introduction in person.
And the pleasure is mine. And all those hours, and it's just been so rewarding for me.
Well, it has been magnificent. From the very first book, you tell the story. I think it goes back fully 20 years, when at the time you were listening to Alex Jones.
Of all things. Yes.
Yes, of all things, Alex Jones.
We're all guilty of that.
Oh, my. Yeah, well, Rich even said he listened to Alex Jones, too. I guess he certainly was an entertaining sort. He's kind of gone into I'm crazier than a loon today. But he started off, he had to build an audience originally by being interesting. It just has gone from interesting to pretty much insane. But it was all that time ago. That was when, if you go back 20 years ago, I was doing 5, 6, 7 hours of talk radio a day.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I just, one time after Alex Jones, it showed on the screen, and I looked and I said, I got to click this, see what's going on here. And that's when it started.
Yeah. At the time we shared the same syndicator, Genesis Communication Network. He was the top dog on GCN. I was a minor player on GCN, but I had a 5-day a week, 3-hour a day syndicated show on the same network, Genesis Communication Network, called Shattering Myths. And so I hosted my own show after doing somewhat in the range of probably 10,000 radio interviews on primarily on Islam after writing Prophet of Doom. And so, in fact, back in those days, I lost my producer, Scott, to Alex Jones. He went and after I decided I didn't really lose him, because I decided, I don't want to do this anymore. This is way too much time. I'd rather translate and write than I would do this for 15 hours a week, plus all the time to prep for that show. And so Scott Burdink went down and started to be the producer for Alex Jones. So I think he's still there.
Wow.
And you have moved to Alaska. Tell me about that journey. Here you are. It is August, and you're in a coat.
It's 45 degrees this morning, and but it's going to be a beautiful, beautiful day in the making here. And it's been a year and 1 month since I loaded the truck and drove that 4,000 miles from Dallas to here. And it's just been a wonderful adventure. Just fabulous.
Alaska is one of the most beautiful places on earth. I've been there a number of times. I don't think I could handle the winters there because I'm too much into light. It's just not enough light for me. I've got a house, and if I didn't have any walls and just had windows, I'd be fine with that. So I'm not certain I could handle the winters there. and I'm kind of a warm weather creature. I sort of like getting up and putting on a pair of shorts and flaps or no shoes at all, and that's just not going to work in Alaska.
No, it's it's right now. You wake up at 5 a.m. and it's pitch black, and you're going, that just seems like it happened overnight. The doom is descending slowly now into the darkness.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, you'll go from it being sunny all day to it being dark all day. Yeah. How far north are you? Are you near Anchorage or not?
Call it 45 miles northeast
of Anchorage.
I have 7 acres on the Kinnick River, downstream about 10, 12 miles from the glacier.
Oh my!
That's Lazy Mountain is back behind there somewhere. And,
okay.
We're just ringed with beautiful mountains all around us. It's just
the mountains there are gorgeous. The rivers are stunning. Whitewater streams everywhere. The salmon fishing is out of this world. Yeah, I heard you just 23 salmon just a couple of days ago.
Yeah, it was a few weeks ago down on the Kenai. My niece's husband and I we took the boat out there, and you just take that pole with the net on the end, just hold it next to the boat, and as we drift, and the salmon just seemed to want to jump into the net, and it was so fun. Wow! And I've got probably 100 pounds of beautiful sockeye salmon fillets in the freezer.
Wow. Yeah, that's quite a life, and you're almost a homestead. I mean, it's 7 acres.
Yeah, it's nice and close to the nearest large town, which is Wasilla, the Wasilla Palmer area, and it's about an hour, little less than an hour to Anchorage Airport. So, it's a nice sort of isolated place on this beautiful road leading up to the Glacier Lodge, but yet it's pretty convenient nonetheless. And with my truck with 4-wheel drive and winter tires, it's sure-footed on the snow. So you're out driving at the speed limit on these snowy roads, and it's like, this shouldn't be like this, but it just of course blowing snow several times a winter with the big snow blower, which is fun, really. I just go make short work of this long driveway and keep splitting firewood and stay busy.
That's quite the life. I'm happy for you. I'm glad you found a place that you love. As I say, I dearly love Alaska. I think it's, in terms of just natural beauty, which we're going to have a lot of here coming up in 7 years, with the kind of whole world just turned back into a natural state. Alaska's going to have a lot of appeal.
How did you two hook up?
Yeah, this was 20 years ago, back in 2006, that you were listening to Alex Jones on GCN, and I was the next show up, and you clicked on it. And what was the appeal that caused you to say, well, I think I'm going to listen again or start?
Well, years ago, after my parents pulled us out of parochial Catholic school, and because it was bankrupting the family, and a very spicy conversation with old Father Mulligan, who was about to lose 3 high-paying seats. My mom, I was hearing my mom's end of the conversation, and it was not pretty, and that was the end of her devotion to Catholicism. And that was
Mulligan, which is a perfect name for in golf. Of course, that's when you shank a shot and you want a mulligan. That Father Mulligan, his big concern was not your soul; it was his pocketbook.
Oh yeah, and so that was a big blow to me, because I knew I was going to hell, because Sister Barbara, my first grade teacher, informed us that only Catholics are going to heaven and everyone else is going to hell. So
surprise, newsflash. Not so there, sweetheart.
So it was probably in my late 20s or early 20s that I encountered a book called The Two Babylons, which was really
sure, yeah. Alexander Hislop, right?
Yes, and then for a spell I got involved.
And that's a tough read. I mean, that's a really tough read. the two
Pretty
Babylons, because he wants to make it more of a conspiracy than it really is. I mean, he is correct in finding all of the connections between the old Babylonian, Greek, Roman, and Egyptian religions, and the symbolism and the very edicts of Christianity. So he does a marvelous job of that, but he tries to I think he tries too hard to trace it all the way through every religion, like Nimrod has to be the same as Tammuz, who has to be the same as Dionysus, who has to be the same as Bacchus, who has to be the same as Osiris. And after a while, you're a little worn out on the train of names. But he wanted to dance between raindrops, where he could say, all right, so Roman Catholicism is Babylon, but Christianity is not. As if there was a difference between Roman Catholicism and Christianity.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember reading it, and those are my two reactions: is why are you dancing between raindrops here? It is wrong for Roman Catholicism, which means it's also wrong for the whole religion of Christianity. And I think he did push it too far. It becomes hard to read just because he wants to tie. It's like Quigley's book. I don't know if you ever read Quigley's book on conspiracy. It's about time. No, not about time, but I've forgotten the name. But it was
Tragedy and Hope.
No. Oh, Tragedy and Hope. That's right. Tragedy and Hope is Quigley's book, where Quigley tries to tie all of the conspiratorial belief systems and organizations all the way up to the present day, and it just wears you out after a while. You're just going, oh man, this is really just too much work, and I'm not sure you get anywhere once you're there. And it was that book, Tragedy and Hope, that finally just wore me down, where I said, there's just no benefit to this conspiratorial approach, because no matter how much you concentrate on it, you just can't get there from here to there without wearing yourself down. Yeah. And if I'm going to get wear down, I got a pretty good attention span. There's no way I'm going to walk somebody through this.
No, too many rabbit holes.
Too many rabbit holes. Yeah.
So what attracted me, I think, most was that after reading that book, and then a stint with getting a lot of the materials from Herbert W. Armstrong's Worldwide Church of God, I delved in that for a while, and he had some things that were right, that aligned with some of the things that I heard when I first started listening to you, because at least he realized that, when God makes a promise, when he makes an oath, he can't go back on it.
You're not changing it. Right.
You can't change it. You can't alter that. And so I think that's where I really...
Passover is Passover. It's never going to be Christmas or Easter. And and the Shabbat is the day. It's never going to be Sunday.
Or yes.
And Yisrael are the chosen people. It's never going to be a Goyim church.
Yep. And that was the hook. And I just, it all started to, it makes sense. But for all that time, it was, for me, totally cerebral. Cerebral. And like a lot of our fellow family members, I came from a very fractured family background. My mother was verbally abusive. Yeah, my mother was verbally abusive to me starting at a very young age, and it became this weird codependent relationship. And finally, I was about maybe 11 or 12. One morning, she just left us, abandoned us. So I think that's kind of screwed up my whole thing about relationships and running from commitment, that I ended up just, okay, my first romance was a disaster. I really hurt her badly because I just couldn't get the commitment thing going, and I really hurt her. And so all these years I've just plowed myself into career and work and civic type things.
By the way, I did the same thing. The first girl that I really had a wonderful connection with. I'll never forget her. And unfortunately I blew that relationship. And it was, I think it was likely, I know it was a lot of pressure from my father was your mother. verbally abusive. He would occasionally go to physically abusive, but my father was a real exceedingly mean man. And so I grew up in an abusive home too. And I did have commitment issues. I remember I did exactly the same thing you did. I regret it to this day.
Well, but then I look back and wonder how my life would have changed if I might still be in that same old hometown working.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
me too. So it worked out good. It doesn't change the fact that you have some remorse over this was a really good situation and I blew it, and so you have some regret over not being mature enough to handle it. Maybe that's my deal. Maybe I don't know if it's yours as well. But in the end, there's no way I'd ever want to go back because I like the way it all ended up. It just that in fact, even the bumps along the road contributed the way that it ended up.
Yeah, we're parallel in that regard, aren't we?
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. I think you're going to like one of the things that I've just discovered. Then we talk about fractured families. I'm in the midst of putting together the scenario because I'm rewriting Written in Stone. As you know, you've just edited the unpublished books. Mike still wants to make a final contribution to them, so I'm waiting for him. But Coming Home, 4, 5, and 6, about 2,000 pages, and you've just done a thorough edit review of each of those 3, and they're otherwise ready to go. So while I'm waiting for Mike, I decided I'd rewrite Written in Stone. And I come to Written in Stone, and I'm trying to deal with everything that Na'af represents. Na'af is the word that is rendered adultery, even though there's essentially no correlation between the English definition of adultery and the way Na'af is used in the Torah. So I'm trying to explain that Na'af is religious infidelity. It's cheating on God with false gods, and went through that. But then because there's this, I think, a rather repulsive attitude towards homosexuality by Christians and by Muslims, of course, as well. And I've never thought that I don't like people promoting things that are unusual and abnormal as normal and better. But somebody choosing to be homosexual, it doesn't bother me, and I don't think it bothers God. So I wanted to go ahead and, while I'm in that subject, to put an end to the myth that God condemned homosexuality. And so as you're translating that, you're confronted, because the only way you can actually render the vocabulary accurately is you have to go back to the most the entirety of the Torah and prophets. And it is with Jacob. And Jacob, it turns out, is the single worst father, son, brother, and husband in the whole of the covenant family. He's the worst of all. And Yahweh even refers to him as a toba, a worm. And so I'm trying to understand how it is that God in the end can rectify this covenant family and do so around Jacob when he cheated his brother, he cheated his father, he cheated his firstborn son, and he was abusive to his wife. That doesn't seem to be a fit to me. And so you go to the word that only appears in 3 times, twice in what is thought to be a homosexual reference. And the other time, it is used in reference to Reuben. Reuben was Jacob's firstborn, Leah's son. And Jacob tells Reuben that he won't survive, that he won't even be part of the remnant, that he is a scoundrel and a skunk and he's better off dead. And Reuben's crime was when his father elevated a concubine above his mother, Leah. After all the abuse he had given to his mother, Leah, Reuben said, "Screw you. And so he jumped in the sack with the concubine and say, all right, I'll show you what I think of all of this. And Jacob went nuts and condemned him. He did the same thing to his firstborn that he did to his brother, who was the firstborn.
Wow.
So I'm tracing this down, and initially I'm just frustrated because I don't have a great relationship, but I've done everything I can to view things from his perspective. And I'm saying, how in the world are we going to reconcile this covenant on behalf of that scum?
Huh.
Jacob is a worm. For damn sure he's a worm. So why are we doing this? He's a horrible person, and he's horrible across the board on everything that matters. And then I see it just like we're talking here. He says, what do I call you? I said, the man from Edom. He said, have you put that together? Why in the world in Yeshaya 63 is the man who saves the remnant called the man from Edom? Because he's replacing the birthright.
Right.
He's restoring the birthright. Just as Dod is his firstborn, he's restoring the birthright. And it is the man from Edom that rectifies this fractured family by restoring the birthright and literally replacing Jacob. And that's why, and the build up to that chapter, in the 62nd chapter, it actually calls that man from Edom Israel. He's replacing Jacob. And Jacob is called a toala, which is this worm or maggot. Guess what is thrown on the fire? And then the sacrifice of the Adamah Parah.
Mm-hmm. Toala, yeah, the
Toala.
red worm.
Yeah.
It's incinerated.
Wow.
In other words, Jacob is done away with. He's replaced by the actual firstborn. And the family is intact again.
How many more of these parallels and these?
Oh,
it's getting
for an eternity, my friend.
I know. Yes,
for an eternity, my friend.
You know, you mentioned adultery, and I think that's one of the questions I would pose to a Christian. Why don't you go through your Bible and look at every instance where the word adultery occurs? Tell me how many times it's talking about spouses cheating on each other.
Right. Mm-hmm. And the answer is almost never. The only place where it could be extrapolated is he uses a man taking another man's wife as an example, but it's only the example to say, yeah, and Israel, you are adulterous with me because you've cheated on false gods. You've cheated with false gods. That's what makes you adulterous, which is why both in Yirmiyah and in Hosea, he says, I'm writing you this letter of divorce.
Yep.
Yeah, it's but this tie-in with we're going to get rid of this problem of Jacob. He was stunningly deceitful to his father. His mother was stunningly deceitful. He was deceitful with his brother. He was horrible with his firstborn son, and he was an abusive husband. So God said, yeah, I got a remedy for that. I'm coming full circle. Just like we're coming back to the garden, I got a remedy for that. And it took you long enough to figure it out. It's also interesting that Edom is, we know that Abraham was renamed, right? Went from Abram to Abraham. We know that Jacob was renamed, although he retained his old name, and we don't know who actually, under what circumstances, he was given the new name of Yisrael.
Yeah.
Right? Which is the name that's taken from him at the end. You know who also gets a new name? Esau. Oh. Esau and Edom seems to have some correlation when you say, oh, they both start with an E, but that's not true. Esau is written with the Ain, and it shares no letter in common with Edom, which is his new name. He is renamed Edom. And you know the distinction between Edom and Adam? None.
None.
Absolutely not. So it's one of just the fun things you can put together, and you see how God's puzzle comes full circle. You sent me a note a matter of weeks ago, where you were reading and editing one of the 3 Coming Home books, and it was the first time where I was now taking a step back, and I'm going to say I want to try to put this for the first time. I'm going to frame the whole story for you, and these are God's players. God's got a mother, he's got a father, he's got a son. They're woven through this story, and I want to show you from his perspective the story of the mother, the father, and the son, and how collectively they're building this covenant family for Yahweh. And you said, for the was quite an experience. You've mostly you edit for technical merit, which you're great at, but that this one was really came home. It hit you right in the heart.
It was totally cerebral for all those years, and you exactly nailed it when you said that was those 3 chapters just really did bring the whole picture together for me, and it just overwhelmed me. I was like, wow, it's for the first time it was incorporating into my persona.
Yes.
And it was,
yeah.
And it was like, it's okay. You're so reluctant to rely on a relationship because you've been hurt in the past.
Correct. Yes.
I'm finally there's someone that is now totally reliable.
Yes.
And that is grounding, that's centering. It's wow. And there's so many moving parts. It just boggles my mind that in the framework of free will, this will still all work out in the end.
Yes.
What an amazing thing.
Yeah, that's the 2 aspects of this that were revolutionary in our comprehension. It didn't change anything. It just reinforced everything. This realization that God's entire story from beginning to end revolves around a mother, father, and son. And the center of their life is the son. It's the son who's the center, but there's a mother and father to make this son, enable the son to be what he needs to be to serve alongside the creator God of the universe. And so God found souls whose characteristics enabled them to perform that role, a role that he actually at this point could not perform himself and did not want to perform himself, because that would ruin the entire purpose of creation. And was just too far removed from Adam to serve as Adam's father. And yet he wanted Adam to be his son. And so he came up with a way to make that happen that not only enables all free will to remain intact throughout time, but to guarantee that his plan for his beloved son and this covenant desire that he has, to be assured that it's going to play out on that same timeline and deliver exactly the result that he wants, how he wants it, and when he wants it. And he's going to do it through a mother and father and a son to exemplify the very covenant that he's going to create. Tell me that isn't a great story.
Oh, it's a beautiful, beautiful story. And to think that we're going to be standing there watching this beautiful ceremony.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yahweh returns. His people have returned to him. His beloved son comes back. He's as brilliant as the sun. He is Elion, the all things pertaining to God in our presence. He is wed to the most beautiful woman in the world, and this family reunion, homecoming, all takes place on Yom Kippurim. But it's after the final act of sacrificial love, if you will, and support by his father on Teruah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And maybe even a tougher blow by his mother having to be there to watch it. But that takes place on Teruah. He gets to come back on Kippurim, and then we all return to the garden. And there is now a new Israel. family is no longer fractured, and it's no longer stained by what had happened those 4,000 years ago.
You know, I'd like to ask you something. It's
Sure.
been on my mind. If we're created in His image,
Mm-hmm.
that would tell me that Yahweh enjoys the same ups and downs and discoveries, and it doesn't seem probable to me that He just one day went boom and created all this universe. If we're in His image, how many thousands of times did He bring this thing together and say, "Oh, that didn't quite work. I have to tweak it." And I mean,
I think the first part of what you say is resonates deeply within me, because for Yahweh to have created us in His image, and we are who we are, the best of us anyway, from His perspective. He's not perfect. He doesn't want perfection, and He wants every day to be in a new adventure, which means we need to be different. We need to make every opportunity to learn, and we need to recover from our mistakes. That's why when God said, "I regret creating man," He wanted to recover from that mistake. And He didn't do it alone. And so I think that God is very much like the family He's trying to create. He likes challenges. He likes solving issues. Yeah. I think He is so elated that His plan of repeating and redeploying these certain souls along the timeline worked out such that it delivered His Son exactly as He wanted him. And not perfect, but in fact, scarred and battled and bruised and mature and having character, because He's gone through all of that. And He's overcome all of that. And He's proven that He had the resolve to overcome all of that. It delivered His Son real and like Him. Now, the second part of it, there are many who are part of the covenant who view what you described, which is that, how many times did God say, that didn't work, let's try this, which almost assumes that this is not the first attempt at a universe. I'm not there. That's a place where I'm just not. And the reason is that I think that when God came up with this plan of, I'm going to find souls that I like and I'm going to reinsert those souls, that He was playing with a royal flush. In fact, he was holding 4 royal flushes in every suit. No matter what happened, He prevailed. There was no chance of not prevailing under that basis, because He knew the people He had chosen were not going to quit. They were never going to give up. They would endure whatever needed to be done to get it done. And that, therefore, I think when He came up with the plan, He knew it would work. And we know that He knows it's going to work very early on, because He gives us the end result. The end result is we prevail. Now, we don't prevail by human standards. We prevail by His standards. We're not going to deliver a large group of people. We're going to deliver the right group of people. We prevail by His standards, not by human standards. So he's already seen that it works out in the end. Now, is it possible that this universe is one of many, and that He tried different approaches and those didn't work, and He finally said, okay, I'm going to start this one with several souls that I'm going to even know before I even start the system. In other words, that the 3 of us in particular were there with Him when He said, let's do this. And we had already agreed that we would go and be the fixers going forward. I think it is possible. I don't think it's necessary. I think that there's plenty of challenges to overcome in what we're doing, because simply deploying the Father, the Mother, the Son throughout the story, even handpicking the people He was going to choose and equipping them to succeed, wasn't enough. there's still so much going on. I don't think we would have the prophecies that we have about Miriam claiming that she too spoke for God against Moshe, and what that entailed, particularly with the attack on the wife first. I don't think we'd have the prophecies of there's a group that expects to be part of the Shavua harvest that's left behind and is grumbling as to why they were left behind. I don't think we would have these really detailed prophecies that describe what we come up against trying to do this job where our credibility is trying to be stolen. If it weren't for the fact that this is an ongoing hands-on job that God really has to be involved, making it happen, overseeing it, intervening when necessary. And I think finally at the end, by the time we return as the witnesses, he's really all in.
Yeah, it's striking to me that, you know, as big a failure as Dod's first wife, as Adam, God stuck with him. And that's a pretty fundamental thing that I never thought of Adam as being God's firstborn. But there you go.
There you go. And when you realize that the personality of Adam is the same personality that we're witnessing in Dod once he moves into Jerusalem, it's the exact same personality, all the same failings, everything's identical. And then you say, why in the world did Noah call his son Shem the name of names? And why does Yahweh, when he talks about Dod, says, I'm going to give you a Shem that is greater than every other Shem. In fact, your Shem ultimately will be Elion.
Yeah.
You are all things pertaining to God. So why Shem of all names? And in that instance, you know, and you just keep on going through all the way through the play, and you realize, yeah, this is Dod all over again. And the grooming him to return, restoring his relationship with Yahweh, so that he has all of that baggage, all the stuff that he did wrong, all the scars, and yet he came back and he returned to Yahweh, wrote all those beautiful psalms, and then was properly prepared to fulfill Pesach, Matzah, and Bakodim. What a marvelous story. He comes back as the savior. He comes back as the hero. It's easily the most satisfying of all of our discoveries along the way. Isn't the most important, which is we begin by reestablishing, we going back 20 years ago, we reestablished Yahweh's name. I mean, that's important. First to do it in 2,500 years. Recognizing that Dod is the one who fulfilled Pesach, Matzah, and Bakodim, and he told us exactly how and when he was going to do so, and that he is the Savior, therefore there could never have been a Jesus, that Jesus is nothing but a counterfeit, and that it is Dod who fulfilled Pesach, Matzah, and Bakodim, and is our Savior, and the Messiah, and the Son of God, and the chosen one. And the returning king was, I keep on calling the greatest discovery pursuant to God of all time. But it is the most satisfying. The most satisfying is initiated in that final word picture in the 31st Mashal on the conversation between his mother and him on saying, you need to come to grips with who you are, son.
Yes.
And then it's followed up by the 89th Mizmor. And then to see the results of all of that. And then to say, all right, this didn't happen just here. Who are these people really? And then you go back, you study the story of Ruth and Boaz, and you say, oh, that's why his name's on the temple. That's why she says she's the Amma. That's why she says, I'm going to deliver the kinsman redeemer to you. And you read that story, and the whole thing's prophetic. It even talks about the Nakar and the Nakara. And it just, at that point, your heart melts, and it just says, oh my, this has been here the whole time. And then you realize who Chinook was, and who Noach was, and who Shem was, and how it was Noach and Shem that not only visited Abraham when the announcement was you're going to have a son, but it was them that they were the two witnesses that walked to Mount Moriah. And so it was Noach that put his arm around Shem as his son and say, that's you, son.
No, and of course, Christianity went off the rails way back in Genesis when those are just fruit trees.
Just fruit trees. Yeah, that's an apple tree.
Yeah, they got it wrong from the get-go.
You go. Then you in the midst of all that, you're realizing that the most important prophecy that exists is the first one.
Yeah,
about the two Maoreth, these two luminaries, the Gadol and the Khatan Maoreth. They are the whole story. They're the guys that fulfill the Moedim. And they're the guys that come through the years. They're the very demarcation of time as they're redeployed. They're the heart of this story. And then they're manifest again as those two trees. And it's Dode who fulfills Pesach that opens the door to life, and he is the tree of lives. And then you've got the tree of knowledge. And when the Choder is described, he is called the tree of knowledge. It's everything about the Choder is a tree, including he's called an Etzah Diath. And you go, oh, this was here all the time. How did we miss it?
Yeah, 3,000 years and we missed it. You know, there are frequently times when I just feel this incredible sense of empathy for what we've put Yahweh through as human beings. And I mean, God,
as he says, I regret creating humanity. When they became many, they became evil all of the time. And yet he didn't give up on the entire human experience. Ultimately, he prevails, but not with many, just with people of his choosing. And, you know, we get to come back to an environment that's very much like you're in there, probably a little warmer, it's going to be beautiful. It's going to bring us full circle back into the garden. Relationship restored.
It's going to be 78 degrees every day here.
Okay, a little warm. See, 78, we'd freeze to death. I would need your parka if it went to 78 degrees here. I think the coldest I've ever experienced since I've been here in the 9 years, one day it dipped down to 74 degrees. I thought we were going to freeze.
Oh, my. Oh, and no more mosquitoes in Alaska.
Okay, we're banning mosquitoes from the world. That is an absolute must. I do not like skeeters. They are not my friend. But otherwise, Alaska's a pretty spectacular place, my friend. Boy, you know, it's just such an amazing thing. I had when you sent me the note in the midst of this, because it was apparent that this realization of the family supporting the whole story all the way through just opened my heart. I mean, at that point, they said, "Okay, God, you got me. You own me hook, line, and sinker, or in your case, fishnet." I get it. I get it. This is exactly what we're doing here. We'll get her done. I'm in 100%. But it was so reassuring, so warming, so comforting. And then when you wrote your note, it said, "Oh, well, we've been together a long time." It hit you the same way.
Oh, yeah. And 3,000 years of darkness. It had to be that way. It just had to be that way.
And that we have 6,000. Yeah, that 6,000 years from Yahweh's point of view was a blink of an eye, though.
Oh, sure. For us,
it didn't. I don't think it had a lot of work for us, but blink of an eye. And we've still got 7 years left, and that's going to be challenging, particularly over this next 9-10 months, and then it's going to really be challenging that 1,500 days that we have up to Ruah. That's going to be really, really challenging. And after that, I think it's going to be a breeze.
Well, yeah, I think the most ominous thing we're seeing right now is with this emergence of a communism and Islamofascism coming together is going to, it has the potential to be so destructive. I think it might make Mao look like Mother Teresa and Lenin like Joan of Arc.
I was with you 100% on that until recently, and I'm going to show you the one deviation I have on it. I think I have written many times that the merger of Islam and Muslims and Marxists is the single most damaging thing in human history.
Mm-hmm.
I have moved on slightly from that, and I'll get to that in a moment. The first time that we see Muslims and Marxists together was Mohammed Hajj, the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem. And he goes to meet Hitler in Berlin in 1941. And he pleads with Hitler as the Muslim speaking to a Marxist about exterminating Jews as opposed to exiling them. Hajj Hamani was his last name. And that's the first real merger between Islam and Marxism. Marxism was quite new as a religion of man. And prior to that, Islam had dominated the genocide of humanity. Islam in its first 100 years murdered 200 million people. That was a third of the Earth's population, and that was in its first century. And it remained 100% the most barbarian, aggressive, vicious religion humans had ever known for its first 1,000 years. It never stopped conquest, and its conquests were brutal, and they did not want you to convert. They had no interest in anybody converting. In the first 100 years, there was no conversion at all. They didn't even have a Quran. All they wanted is to rape the women, to enslave the children, and to plunder the whatever they could steal. And so for 100 years, it was nothing but a bloodbath and thievery. And for 1,000 years thereafter, it was conquering the world for Allah. But again, conversion meant nothing to them. They were robbers. And so nothing compares to Islam in terms of the death toll and the destruction it has had on humanity. And now it's 2 billion people. But there's also very close to 2 billion Marxists in the world today. And in America and in Europe, universities have indoctrinated a 2 generation to be Marxists. And it is a completely failed system. Marxism has never worked. It will never work. And it is disastrous. It robs people of their freedoms, and it robs people of their initiative and their productivity. It destroys economies. There's just nothing worse than Marxism. And if you look at Marxism over the last 100 years, it's the leading cause of death. Nearly 200 million people have died because of Marxism since it was invented 100 years ago. And so the blend between these two is the thing that I said was the single most damaging thing to humanity. And I was close, and I still see it as being very damaging, but I think there is something more damaging still. Trump and the MAGAs. I think when Donald Trump went from being a narcissist and a psychopath to being Satan incarnate, when he was up against it and knew he was going to be imprisoned and bankrupt after losing that last election and then losing every trial, he made a deal with the devil. He became Satan incarnate. He's the person the prophets have spoken of. He's the great betrayer of Israel. He is Rahab. And he is so destructive. He's going to be worse than Mao and Hitler and Stalin combined.
No. I actually
so I think that MAGA and Trump, I think, are even more dangerous than the blend between Marxists and Muslims. But the combination of them, there is no hope for humanity.
No,
going to resolve these problems.
No, and I actually arrived at the same conclusion that you did about Donald Trump. In fact, I made a comment quite a while back that I think very, very close to the same time, I think we both came to that same realization that this has got to be the one, because his personality, his foibles, all of his characteristics are reminiscent of Paul, the kind of ego that Satan loved to work with. He has the perfect ego, the perfect level of irrationality, the sexual perversion, no respect for life.
he is Muhammad, he is Paul. And so since we knew that Muhammad and Paul were demon possessed, and they were very open about it, and we know we had a mirror we could look at their set them up with this magnifying glass and examine their lives, then what we saw was Donald Trump. And then you read all of the descriptors that were used by the prophets, and they describe Donald Trump. Every single one of them is Donald Trump. But the way that I originally came to recognize it was Trump is that we have known, JK, for a very long time that Yahowah has set the pieces in place relative to our time, where he is the one who made it clear that the time of trouble would begin on Shabuah, and that commiserate with that, within a year of that time, there would be a forfeiture of Israel to the extent that she is vulnerable and open to destroy, and that the country most responsible for betraying Israel was described as the United States in the 18th chapter of Yahowah. Yeah. So when you know that it is when the time of trouble begins, May 22nd of this year, and then you know that the country that is blamed for making Israel vulnerable and indefensible is described throughout the 18th chapter of Yahowah, and it's the United States of America and no one else, then the pieces all fit together. As soon as Trump won that last election, he had to be Satan incarnate, the great betrayer. And then we read all of the manifestations that this person has, confabulation, deceit, a fixation on war, sexual perversity, egomaniacal, psychopath. And of course, he's long in days, he's an old fart, and that he has that goatish comb over hair. You're saying, okay, well, clearly Donald Trump. And in fact, even the book of Ezekiel, he's the coppercon. And so you put it all together, it was obvious. And then it still was risky to say it when both of us came up with that 2 years ago, because he's in such poor health. You're saying, how in the world can this piece of shit last another, at that point, 8.5 years? How is that even possible? And then with every day, with almost every word, he proves it. Mm-hmm. And yet we can't convince Israel of it. They're prophets who foretold it, and we can't awaken Israel to the fact.
Oh, and it's just striking how Yahowah just got it right to a T. I mean, you cannot mistake that prophecy for anything other than the United States. It was so clear. Yeah.
And so here we are. So it's probably a good time there, Kevin. We'll go to the vlog on the vlog. You ready for that? They do get news up there, up in Alaska, right?
Yeah. Well, I have a brief piece of news. If you'll please excuse me for a moment. I've had a lot of coffee. I'll be right back.
Okay. All right. We'll go ahead and get started, and we'll have you join us as soon as you get back.
Okay.
Look at those beautiful mountains behind him.
Yeah. Oh, it was a beautiful shot. This because he came on at 8:30 my time. He texted me and said, "Hey, we're going to screen test." I'm like, "Yeah, okay." So we'll hop in, get him in the studio, and the first shot is this. It looks like a background. It's this early morning blue behind him with the mountain, and he's there with his parka hood up. And I'm "Oh, you're really pulling this."
The first thing I had to do, I had to ask Rich, who is that? My instinct was that looks like that must be Alaska. That must be JK, but. Oh my! And I mean, I've never seen him before, and certainly never talked to him. But what a thrill it is to meet somebody that you've had that kind of communication with at that level, absolutely, for all that length of time.
How did he wind up being an editor for you?
He just volunteered very early on, because I started writing very early on. Yeah. And he had a knack for it. He would send me emails and say, I think you need to change this, that, and the other. And then he just kept on doing it. And I'd send him every time I'd write a chapter, I send it to him. And he'd send it back to me edited. When we're doing whole books, he'll have 250 edits to enter in a book. And so I'll go through them one at a time. And there isn't 1 in 100 that he gets wrong.
Mm-hmm.
That's about his rate. Maybe it's a 1 in 100, 1%. I'll look at and say, no, I really did mean to say it that way. There's an insight here you just didn't pick up, but he's really good at it. We have now another editor, and Michelle, who is really good at it too. She is highly professional. And then we've had Mike as the fact checker back 20 years too. Now, the team's been together a long time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It just goes to show that these are people that are doing something for themselves, right? I mean, he was reading the books and he was doing his editing and then passes it on to you, and it becomes useful, right? This wasn't like, hey, I want to help Craig write a book. He was doing it anyway. He was doing it for himself, Yeah,
he was reading them for himself, and then but then he would point out to me the typos that existed in the book, and then each time I would write a chapter, I'd send it to him, and he'd send it back to me improved. And
because he's getting the early editions. I understand that Jones.
Oh yeah, no, he got them. In most cases, he got them a year or more before they were published.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it goes back a long time. It's really cool to be able to do this after you think of how much time we have been together and really what we've accomplished over that period of time, and even more how much we have learned. And if either of us had started off where we are now, we'd probably just blow fuses and say, that's way too much. I can't relate to that. It had to come in pieces and over time.
Nice to meet you, Craig.
Yeah, it's good to meet you too. Yeah. Now that I know where you are, and when you moved away, we saw that beautiful mountain range behind you. We're thinking about coming for a visit. If you could just turn up the temperature just a smidge.
Well, think about next summer then. But that's Lazy Mountain there behind me.
Okay, well, that's gorgeous. Now, we're not seeing a moose yet.
Okay, well, I'm glad you've been keeping your eyes open.
Hey, you've sent me photos where you had moose that would come right to your deck there.
Oh, that one, I was like, I walked to the edge of the yard, and that moose came charging my direction because something spooked it from behind him. I turned tail and ran all the way to this patio. I'm like, oh my God.
Because they'll come. Yeah, more moose injuries in Alaska, I think, than any other animal, right?
I believe. Yeah, I think that's exactly right. And I'm sitting on the patio right here one evening in the dark, 15 feet away from me, I hear this crunching noise coming down the driveway in the snow, and all of a sudden 2 giant moose come ambling by here, and look, that gets your heart rate up in a hurry.
Oh yeah, they're big. Yeah, they're big, and they don't. They're kind of like bulls in a way. You're not going to intimidate the bull. If that bull thinks you're in the way, the bull's going to run right over you. And the same thing is true with the moose.
Well, they're just mean. I mean, I was up here in the early 90s visiting my brother who lived up here and ran a flying service and then ultimately a helicopter service. And I was looking at
helicopters in Alaska. I don't think I would do that. I mean, I have no problem with a bush plane in Alaska, but a helicopter in Alaska, I'm not sure I'd do that. But okay.
Well, I've been in a lot of both, and one thing I appreciate about a helicopter is when things go bad, you can stop right on a dime, and an airplane you have to have a place to put it down.
Yes. Well, this is true. Yeah. It's just that helicopter without its rotors turning is a rock. Where my airplane, if I have some altitude and I lose an engine, I can glide a very, very long way. When rocks fall out of the sky, the time that it takes to go from maximum terminal velocity to stop is a fraction of a second, and that hurts a lot. That's called a lot of G's. And on the airplane, if I can just slow from essentially stall speed to stop, and I can prolong that over a second, maybe even 2 seconds, I'm going to walk away from it. So I figured I had the odds in my favor, in that the impact is all about how long you can stretch out that I am moving to I'm stopped. It's like driving into the brick wall is a really bad thing. But driving into, off into a meadow is not such a bad thing. It takes you a lot longer to stop.
Well,
that's the deal with an airplane.
Oh, I was so envious of you, though. I wanted to ride in that TBM of yours so bad.
Oh my! I wore my Pilatus like it was a second skin, because I flew it so long and into so many different places, and that airplane was so capable. But it's a big, heavy airplane. And when I sold the Pilatus, then I went to a citation jet and got type rated. Wow. So I was single pilot rated in a citation jet. But that is really not flying anymore. That's managing systems. You don't get in a jet. You don't get in a jet and fly it, and you don't get in a jet and you're not flying a jet and say, "I think I want to land now." Everything is planned and calculated out, and all you're really doing is managing systems. I didn't like it very much, and then I bought the TBM, and the TBM is sleek, it's fast, it will just perform like you cannot even believe. And it is so damn reliable. Nothing ever breaks on that thing. And it would just do anything. Yeah, I could climb in that, and it was like I was one with the machine. I love that airplane. It's so beautiful. And the avionics on it, so spectacular. That Garmin 1000 suite. It's like
beautiful.
You knew everything. You knew the weather. You knew everything about your destination and your route. Your situational awareness was just out of this world. And of course, now they have a Pilatus they call the PC Pro, PC12 Pro, where they've taken the upper end, the newest developments by Garmin, and they have a complete glass touchscreen in the Pilatus, and that would be a really sweet bird to go back to. But I'm a big fan of turboprops. I like turboprops a lot more than I like turbojets. They're just so much more capable, so much more fun. Being a pilot's in a place like Alaska too, having wings, being able to soar with the eagles, that works. A single engine turboprop doing 320 knots at 26,000 feet. That's outrageous. Oh, it's outrageous. Yeah. And we could fly that airplane to 30,000 with a very low cabin, and it cruise at 325 knots, and just spectacular performance. And it was about the cost of driving a car. You're going through about 50 bucks worth of, or 50 gallons of fuel, and an hour's worth of flight time, and super efficient.
And you've covered a lot of territory in 1 hour.
You've covered a lot of territory for $50 gallons of fuel over that hour's time. So I loved it. Selling it was took part of me away. The difference was when I sold Cara, the yacht. Well, I loved it, and it was wonderful for Leigh and I, and we cruised this part of the world in it and lived in it, and just loved every moment of it, and restoring it and the like. Once I moved into the house and we were devoted to what we were doing, I didn't have the time to manage it, and it became this exceedingly expensive thing to keep up. I was delighted to be able to sell it, and it was a miraculous sale. And with the TBM, my problem with it is you can't keep it here because the environment's too caustic on it. Turbines don't like salt air, and they don't like Sahara sand either. So I couldn't keep it here. And with an airplane like that, you have to fly it once a week.
I was just going to say,
you go very often. You go a month without flying that airplane. You're not safe in it anymore. So you really have to be disciplined about your craft.
Well, it's not good on the machine either. They need to be run. They need to be operated.
The machine needs to be operated, and the operator needs to be operated. He needs to be exercised pretty regularly to fly a bird like that. When you're dealing with machines like this, and it's really wonderful training for what we're doing now, because you have to be way ahead of the story.
Yes.
You need to be 30 minutes to an hour ahead of where you are in that airplane at all times. And you have rehearsed in your mind everything that can go right and can go wrong. And you're prepared to do it. And so if something goes wrong, you just instantly respond. And you know it's going to go wrong before it does. And so you just stay way out in front of equipment. And I like that. I like, this idea that you're in 3 dimensions and you're moving very, very quickly. And that you really only have one opportunity to make a mistake.
Yeah. It reminds me of all the times I was in my brother's when he was still doing fixed wings. We'd launch in a Cessna 206 off of Merrill Field in Anchorage. And we'd head out.
I own 3 of those. Yeah, I own 3 of those. What a reliable bird. Slow as all get out. But that's like having a station wagon.
So we would set out across Cook Inlet under a low overcast, so we didn't have any altitude to work with. And all I could do sitting in that airplane was just thinking, okay, we're halfway across. Okay, we could finally glide from here if we. You would probably last 8 minutes in that cold.
Yeah. Well, I loved my 206s. In fact, I actually I owned a 206 before the TBM. I owned a 206. Just as an intermediate airplane, and bought a new one with the G1000 in it. The negative is it's not a pressurized airplane, and it's a piston engine, so they're a lot less reliable, and it's much, much, much slower. And so when you get up to anything above 12,000 feet, you have to put the canard oxygen in your nose, and that's not really the most comfortable way to go and fly. And it just gives you so much less margin for error in a piston airplane like that you're down low and you can't fly above the storms, and it just doesn't have the reach or the legs. But I flew it enough to fly it cross country many times. So, that's a lot to get in a slow airplane like that and fly it across country.
Well, the thing is, though, they could haul. You could load them up.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So, you could load it up. But talk about loaded up. That was the Pilatus. You could put 1,000 pounds of baggage in a Pilatus. That's a lot, and it had big cargo door and all of that. So, we're not here to talk airplanes. Although I like.
We could go all day on this.
I love airplanes, and love Alaska. Love Zion too. I wish I could convince Jews to become Yehudim again, to realize that Jew was a name that was given to them by the church. It first appeared in the 3rd edition of the King James Bible, and that they should never. And of course, in Christianity, the Jews are the enemies. They are the ones who are accused of crucifying the mythical God of the Christians. And so it's a book that they're demeaned in, and that's where Jew originated, and it abandons the name Yahud, which means Yahweh endowed and beloved of Yah. And so they gave up this stunning name for this name that was coined by those who were persecuting them. And they accepted Jew. I wish they wouldn't have done that. I'd love to introduce them back to Yahweh, but it would also be nice to reacquaint them with the meaning of Zion. Zion is not spelled with a Z. The rabbis have done a great disservice to the language. They have cheated Yehudim and Yisrael out of the very message that Yahweh delivered by cheating on their language. It's why Yahweh had to have these now 39 volumes, by the time we've finished this current group of them, had to have them written by somebody whose primary language was English, because you can't use modern Hebrew. It's too corrupted by the rabbis. So you have to go back to the original alphabet of the Torah and reconstruct it from there. And one of the first things you find out is that Zion does not begin with a Z. And it has a Wah in it.
So they had it.
And it's
they
TS.
They had it totally corrupted by about 500 BCE or so. What was it?
Yeah. That by every bit that time, and of course, by the time they wrote the Masoretic text, it got worse. And then, thereafter, they wrote Yahweh out of their religion, out of their name, out of their lives, and out of his book. And almost every word of consequence in the Torah, prophets, and Psalms, they have improperly scribed. I mean, it's like God uses the Tasday, the TS, and they chose the Z. They're very different letters. They convey very different things. And the original alphabet was a pictographic alphabet that conveyed what it was that you were supposed to be paying attention to. That TS, for example, is a person that's sitting in a prone position like I would sit here if I was holding a book. And so it's like presenting a person reading. And that's appropriate because Zion means signs posted along the way. The Z is a plow. That means like you want to plow them, plow them under. And so they completely corrupted their own language as they robbed their people of their God and of their land and of everything else. They are the greatest threat. They're the most anti-Zion from God's point of view. People on earth are actually the rabbis. And the rabbis have done more to create animosity and hatred of Jews than anyone else. So this is a Roman Catholic girl. You can play this. The sound is irrelevant, but the rest of it you can play. Where they got the new age circus of we're going to dance and be crazy and we're going to shout insane things, versus I've got the incense and I've got the dead God on a stick and I'm going to feed you like we're cannibals, the flesh of my God. And so she's saying, well, I really prefer the sanctity and the mass and peace and reverence. I'm here to tell you, you're both full of shit. Your dead God on a stick is an abomination. Your prayer is an abomination. Your cannibalism is an abomination. And this is a circus and a joke. God hates religion. So the answer is neither. That's the entire purpose of the second statement that he etched in stone. Do not be religious. But part of what you would call a second commandment, but the second statement on the first tablet, don't be religious. You can read, right? No, I want to be in the peaceful reverence environment with my false religion. Don't bother me with the facts.
Yeah,
all right, Larry
she's
Ellison
just upset that the. No, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to say, Larry Ellison, he really let the cat out of the bag here. I don't know did you listen to what he said? I mean, his opening line is that we're going to be watching everybody and recording everybody and everything they do, so the citizens are going to behave.
Yeah. Well,
can you imagine that he is bragging about AI and he says, oh yeah, he thinks it's a great idea. We're going to be watching and recording everything that everybody does, so citizens are going to behave.
Well, that was the whole problem that they had with the Utah project, Echelon or whatever they had, where they had tons and tons and tons of, they were already recording everything that went through the internet, right? But they couldn't do anything with it live. It was only after the terrorist attack or something happened that we got the FISA,
the AI to process it, right?
Well,
so
no,
now
and
the
then
AI
to go look in those
filtering
places.
it and can
do it live.
Shut down your bank account, shut down your car, do all manner of things to you, shut you off of the electric grid. I can't do it for JK here, but good for the rest of us. And the fact is, he's bragging about it. He says, yeah, wow, man, with AI, we're recording everything everybody does. And so citizens are going to have to behave. Just play the first part of it, because it's exactly what he says. We're not hearing a thing.
No audio.
No audio there.
Your body cams will be transmitting that.
Oh.
Police will be on their best behavior because we're constantly recording, watching and recording everything that's going on. Citizens will be on their best behavior because we're constantly recording and reporting everything that's going on.
When you come
That's
to
it. That's enough. So that
digital
he just said that the purpose of AI is that citizens will be on their best behavior because we'll be recording everything that is going on. So your life is no privacy, no free will. We own you. Yeah. We control you. And this is one of Trump's closest oligarchs. He's the one that owns CBS. He's turning CBS into Fox 2. He is the gutted 60 Minutes, gutted the editorial staff. He was the one that given the sweetheart deal to buy TikTok so that they have another pro-Trump voice in social media. This is really dangerous.
Yeah, welcome
really,
to digital.
really, really dangerous. And that's Larry Ellison. Larry Ellison is the founder of the world's foremost database systems, Oracle.
Yeah, welcome
that's
to
really dangerous. That's scary. That's Plantaire level scary. That's Elon Musk. I want to have control of every phone, every internet connection. He's even bragging now that his AI is going to be the primary revenue driver for SpaceX, which means it's going to be deployed collecting all this information too.
Digital prison.
Yeah, it's interesting that his idea of behavior, I mean, he expects humans to behave much like light, that their behavior changes based upon the observer, right? It doesn't.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That light, the two-slit light test, and whether or not light behaves differently. And we know for a fact that light behaves differently if it's being observed. And so what he's saying is that people being watched will behave differently. What he's saying is they'll behave. To behave is what you say to a child. Behave, which means you will do what I tell you to do, that is the context of that verb, behave. Is that citizens will behave because I'm watching them. Mm-hmm. Your child will behave because you're watching them, which means that if they misbehave, there will be a resulting punishment.
Oh, that's definitely the next line. I mean, if you
that
can't
is the next line.
Pull that through, then yeah.
You don't even have to go to the next line, and this is really screwed up evil.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Good
time to be in Alaska. Good time to be in an island in the middle of the Pacific. So here they're saying that in Capernaum, next to a synagogue. Now, if it's next to a synagogue, what in the hell are you claiming that you can have a Christian church if your boys are preaching in a synagogue? But nevertheless, they forget the fact that it was a synagogue. And of course, the Jews can't get over the fact that synagogue isn't even a Hebrew word. So how could you have something that pertains to Yahweh and you're using a Greek word, and then you pretend that Maccabees was to overthrow the Greek influence when in fact it had nothing to do with that at all, because you're even calling your religious building a synagogue, which is a Greek word. This is really embarrassing to Judaism. It's really embarrassing, of course, to Christianity. And they're going to say that Peter, and there was no Peter at the time, that his mother-in-law's house, that Jesus, who never existed, stayed there, a Bible, which doesn't exist either, and it healed Peter's mother-in-law in this dwelling. And you just go, how could you be that desperate? My point is that you don't have a single contemporaneous eyewitness account, and that the closest of your presentations of your four Gospels, the earliest was written in 75 CE. And this was not by an eyewitness, not by somebody who was even close to being an eyewitness, and written under Paul's influence. And the second one copied him and wrote around 80 CE, and the next two were written around 100 CE. And could not have been by eyewitnesses. They couldn't have lived that long. So you've got nothing, and you have no independent correlation of any of this. And you've got a book that you call a Bible, which is based on the Hebrew Babel, which means to confuse and confound by intermixing. It's so pathetic, so desperate. There are several posts here that I posted that, Dolly Parton, sweet soul. I mean, how could you not like Dolly Parton? She's a nice lady. She did wonderful things for kids, and her literacy program was just marvelous, and a sweet personality. But they're all presenting her as in heaven, and you want to say, no, that is one of the great crimes ever perpetrated on humanity. Christianity robbed this sweet lady of her soul, and they lied to her. And so here is a genuinely nice person that was deprived of her soul because of the lies of Christianity. And of course, the Christians have a absolute conniption fit. One who said back, you're delusional and stupid. Oh, okay, well, why don't you read the 5 volumes of Christianity and you get back to me, pal.
Right.
I know your religion a billion times better than you know your religion. And if you read those books, you're going to know that I know your religion infinitely better than you know your religion, and that what I'm saying is actually true. Another person said, because I said again, what a really, really nice person, but robbed of her soul. And then she wrote back, can't you say something nice? If you don't have something nice to say, well, I did have something nice. She's a very nice
she's
person.
a nice person.
And I told you the truth. And the truth is nice, that because I don't want it to happen to other people, that they are also fooled by this stupid religion. Goodness.
Yeah. The goal, the metric is Sadak, not Tob. Okay.
Yeah. So here,
the metric is
the thing
Sadak.
that's so amazing here is that they're claiming that this is the most miraculous thing that ever happened. God himself became a man. And that all of this played out right here, and yet there's not a single scratch in a stone, not a single word to record any of it. I mean, how in the world are you going to believe this story of God himself entered the world as a person and preached all of this stuff, and there's not a single word scribed, not a chisel stone on a rock, nothing for the next 40 years. And when we finally find something that's over in Alexandria, Egypt, and it's written in Greek. What in the world are you believing? Why would you believe such nonsense? And yet you have the prophets of Yahweh, and they wrote everything down at that instant. And, one of the things that just is so obvious is that when you're repeating conversations and passing them on orally, they don't remain accurate for 15 minutes, much less a day, much less a week, much less a month, much less a year, much less 40 years or 60 years. Utter nonsense, all of it.
Shows humans will believe anything.
They will believe anything. The faithful will believe anything, and evidence and reason mean nothing to them. So, if you could say a few words to Benjamin Netanyahu, what would you say? I'm sending you to hell for destroying Israel. How about that? I'm sending you to hell for destroying Israel, and I will. You can count on it. You betrayed your people for your own ego. You isolated your people. You fell asleep on 10/7 of 23, and you responded doing the absolute worst things you possibly could have done, all for your own ego. And then you attacked Iran not once but twice in a war that can never be ended. Well, not until we end it in on Teruah of 33, but that has nothing to do with you. Yeah, you destroyed Israel and the world, standing in the world, and then you made Israel a vassal state of Satan with Donald Trump. Congratulations. I'm sending you to hell for destroying Israel. That's what I will tell him. So here is the Quran 3:54 and 8:30. Allah is the best of deceivers. It says that. No. It's actually Allahu, Allahi, Allah is the best of deceivers, and that's a far cry from Allah. It means the for him is a accurate translation of that. Allah's name doesn't actually appear anywhere in the Quran. And Revelation 12:9, Satan is the deceiver of the whole world. Both are one's right, one's wrong, and it's kind of interesting here that Allah is the best of deceivers. That is, while the Quran's false, that is a true statement. So you can have true statements in a false book. If you didn't have some true statements in a false book, the book wouldn't be misleading, would it? Mm-hmm. Because no one would believe it if it was just all lies. So there are, babble means to commingle truth and lies. So it is true that Allah is the best of deceiver. It is also true that the Quran is a book filled with lies. As for Revelation is an untrue book, and Satan is the deceiver of the whole world is also untrue. While Satan is deceptive, his influence is really quite limited. He's not omnipresent, and he actually deals with very few people. And so it's mostly man who is the deceptive force of the world, not Satan. And so you're giving Satan way, way too much credit. This is something that is made it all the way through. I must have 10 posts on this as to what happened. And there are really only two options. So you had Ratcliffe, the CIA director, the head of the scummiest organization on earth. I'm sorry if you're a CIA fan, but the CIA, I think, is the root of all evil in the United States. I think it's the single biggest cancerous sore that is in the Western world. And the proof is ubiquitous, by the way. He hops on a plane, and it's not not normal. And you don't fly in. This plane has no windows other than the cockpit. There were 8 to 10 of these in St. Croix Airport. They have no tail numbers on them. When Trump was planning on kidnapping Maduro. Mm-hmm. So these are all spook planes, U.S. Air Force spook planes. This is the Globe Master. This is not a airplane that any human being is going to say, good, fly me into Moscow. I think I want to fly in a Globe Master. And that's a cargo plane that moves war equipment. So the very fact that that's the airplane tells you there's something really strange going on. The fact that after all these 5 or 6 meetings between the real estate developer and the golf buddy, Kirshner and Witkoff, that they're not sent and they're not even on the ride. I'm sending the head of the CIA in to meet with Russia tells you a lot. Now, Trump didn't bother to say, this is why I'm sending him. So I think there's only 2 explanations as to why he went, and you can pick which one you think is true. The Wall Street Journal is reporting that he went because Russia is planning a large mobilization, has finally had it with Europe, particularly the UK, and with Finland, and has had it with Ukraine, and they're just done with the whole thing. And the mobilization is to overwhelm the Ukraine while also holding Finland and the UK accountable for killing Russians. And so the Wall Street Journal says, well, he went there to plead for peace and tell Putin, don't do this thing. And even though the new Prime Minister of the UK just announced, yes, we did send that Storm Shadow missile into Russia. We gave the coordinates, we provided them, we gave them the plans to build more of them. Yeah, we're all over this. That, okay, just because he said that doesn't mean you need to go and bomb the UK. So that's the Wall Street Journal's point of view, that is trying to de-escalate what is an escalating situation in Ukraine. I don't buy it.
No.
I don't buy it for several reasons. One is that Trump's bored to all over the Ukraine. He has no interest at all in the Ukraine. Is not on his radar because Americans are fixated on Iran and the destruction of the Iran war, and the midterms are approaching, and all he cares about is the Iran war. He is not interested. In fact, he even said the Ukraine war is not our deal. We have this big ocean between us. So he's not interested, doesn't care. And he certainly doesn't care about the UK. And he knows that the likelihood of influencing Putin to stop a war that America started is zero. And that there will be no diplomacy here because, well, nobody can be trusted on the European side and the American side. So I think the odds of that are really slim. I think that might be a cover story, but I don't think it's possible. So what do you think it might be, JK? Why would he go if it's not because of the buildup for this next phase of this war, which, by the way, I think is also problematic because you don't start a major campaign in the third week of August in a country whereby mid-September winter is beginning to set in and there's no mobility in that country. And in 4 weeks, there will be no mobility in Ukraine. It will be nothing but a marshy swamp, cold marshy swamp. So I don't think that's credible. I mean, I recognize that Russia has to speed up its attempt to seal off the ethnic oblasts, ethnic Russian oblasts. I know they're going to probably go to the Dnieper River, and they'll take Odessa. I think that's relatively certain, and that they have sealed off all access to the country so Ukraine can't send things out and can't bring things in. And I know they want to teach Europe a lesson, but there's only so much that any nation can do at one time. You get overextended and you fail at everything. And so, it's one thing I'm pushing westward to the Dnieper River and making progress in that regard. I'm making progress on taking Odessa. I'm making progress at isolating Ukraine from resupply. And I'm making progress in destroying Kiev's infrastructure so that they don't have the will to fight. And I'm making progress with an economy that is being sanctioned in every which way. But to that, you're expecting me now to come down from the north to have a northern buffer. You're expecting me to move into Kiev. You're expecting me to have a mass mobilization of Russian military, and you're expecting me to take the battle to Finland and the Baltic countries while also bombing the UK and engaging even more directly NATO. And you think I'm going to add all of that to this? You think you're going to play me to the point where I'm so thin that I can't support anything that we're doing. I don't see Putin that foolish, and I don't think that's the scenario. That's my analysis. But there's another reason. Got a guess, JK?
I'm really at a loss. Maybe it has something to do with potential nuclear involvement. I
don't know. No, I don't think so. I don't think it's nuclear involvement either. You're going to play the Senator Graham approach. I don't know much about that national security stuff. But my daddy, he was in the military, so I like the military. I don't know if you saw that, and she won the primary. That just shows you how stupid Republicans have become. She won the primary. A senator won the primary who in a debate said, I don't know anything about national security. Anyway, okay. What happened the day before he left? What happened the day before Ratcliffe, the CIA, was dispatched to Russia? Trump's announced D-Day economically. Secondary sanctions on Iran. You can't put more sanctions on Iran. So now the D-Day solution is mission isolation. And he's calling it the D-Day plan, where any country that does business with Iran will face major economic sanctions by the United States. So he says that 5 minutes later, Z came back directly and said, hell, screw yourself. First of all, we disagree with what you're doing. What you're doing is wrong. And we are not going to back away from our financial dealings with Iran. And oh, by the way, you have no influence over China. You've tried economic war against China 4 or 5 times, and each time you get your head headed to you. So just shut up. No. And they're the largest trading party with Iran. Number 2 is Russia. So I think he went to Russia to say, help us get the Strait of Hormuz open, back off of your support for Iran, and work with us on this, and we'll relieve some sanctions. And if you don't want to work with us on it, then we're going to impose more secondary sanctions on you and your banks and all your financial institutions. I think that's what he did. And I think the moment that he said, or this is what we're going to do, I think Russia said, you can leave now. Now, if it were me, and I had that report given to me that he was there and that's what he was saying, if I were Putin, I'd have walked into that room. He would have stood up and I would have said, stay standing. You're walking out of here. We're going to keep that fancy Globemaster that you flew in here. I'm going to send it to China so they can reverse engineer it. I think they'll like it as a present. I don't give a damn if you walk home. Get the hell out of here. I never want to talk to you or that piece of shit president of yours ever again. You caused this war with both countries, your belligerence. And you want us, after you've sanctioned us, to help you with your sanctions on Iran? Are you out of your ever-loving mind? Get the hell out of here. You're nothing but a lying menace. And by the way, you're walking. Get started. Same day, Lavrov had to meet with the top diplomat of the Roman Catholic Church. I think I would have followed this meeting. I'd have gone there. I said, back in the 1930s, you sided with the Nazis. 25 million Russians died because of what you did. The Roman Catholic Church supporting Adolf Hitler and the pact you made with the Nazis. And now you're here representing Ukraine, the most Nazified country on earth. You have not learned a thing, have you, in the last 75 years? You also can leave. I never want to see you or hear from you again. Oh, by the way, when the Ukrainians, with that regime that you helped with America to overturn the pro-Russian government, started attacking Russian Orthodox churches and killing women and children in those Russian Orthodox churches, you didn't say boo. You didn't care. So, you're hypocrites and you're Nazi lovers. Get out of here. I'd have had 2 for 2. So,
yeah, I think I noticed they kicked Israel out. I mean, their embassy and everything quite some time ago, right? I mean, and I think that this is the second step to that. We're done. This is a close-up shop operation. Embassies are part of the CIA. You would think that if we're going to have this close-up shop, that it would be the Secretary of State that would go in, but it just goes to show that the embassies are.
The impression is that a Secretary of State runs the U.S. embassy systems, and they're under the umbrella of the Secretary of State. The staff of U.S. embassies is somewhere between entirely and 99% CIA. They are CIA operations. And so that embassy staff there is in Moscow is all CIA. Now, could he have brought in a Globemaster to take out sensitive U.S. equipment from the embassy, knowing that this is over, and to take off sensitive staff from that embassy, knowing it's over? There's certainly that possibility. That could have been the reason for bringing in this airplane, is removing things, but it flew back west yesterday, so it's back in the west. We have no idea who was on it going in, other than Radcliffe, and we have no idea what was on it coming out. But I'd have played the game differently if I had been Putin than what we saw. All we know for certain is Putin's answer: niet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, whatever the question was, it was the
whatever the proposal was. The answer was
yes,
niet.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you think? I think that Trump is so bored with the Ukrainian war that he wants nothing to do with it. He wouldn't care whether they attacked Europe or NATO or anything else. He would say, "I told you so," and he'd be delighted. More killing, more war. This is great. It's not my war, not my pony, and my political fortunes on the midterms are not based on it. I need out. I need an out on the Iranian war, and there doesn't seem to be an out. So I'm going to see if I can convince my buddy Putin to play my secondary sanctions game against Iran and get that Strait of Hormuz open. And that's the only option that makes any sense. I think the Wall Street Journal is just flat out wrong. And I think the Wall Street Journal didn't get it wrong because they were speculating. They got it wrong because they were played.
Mm-hmm.
The difference between those two. That means that they were fed. The CIA plays this game such that the CIA was told to be a witness, to be a person in the room that could be used anonymously to say this was the purpose, a source to claim this was the purpose under anonymity, strictly to mislead the Washington Post, because it's embarrassing for Trump to go there and beg Russia to capitulate on the plan that has continued to fail in Iran. So to say that I went there on a peace mission makes Trump look like, oh, I'm a peacemaker. Yeah, man, another Nobel Prize. So that's why they planted that story, when in fact the real story is begging for a way out on Iran, and that's embarrassing for Trump. So they planted the other story. And that's the story that the Wall Street Journal ran with.
Well, we'll get to another one down lower, but the U.S. closed its embassy, removed the flag from its embassy in Ukraine, did it not? I mean,
I don't know if it was from the Ukraine or from, I think it was the Moscow embassy.
Okay.
I think that's where they removed their flag.
Okay, so if it was the flag coming down at the Moscow University, shops closed. Everybody go home. We need to get the hell out. I mean,
well, it's possible, and it's possible that listen, Europe has made it inevitable, and so has the United States, that Putin has no choice but to escalate. He must escalate to save Russia. So it's his long-term strategy of go slow and try to maintain a relationship with Europe so you can do business afterwards. That has been rendered impossible. He wanted to outlast the idiots, but they replaced one idiot with a new idiot. So the Starmer replacement is worse than Starmer. And so he now knows that I can't outlast them. Therefore, the original strategy, while sane, it won't work. And so part of growing up, you got to man up sometimes. My plan didn't work. I need a new plan. And the new plan means I need to escalate this and end this war. The only question becomes, how much can Russia, with its economy and its military, escalate the war without overstretching its capability? I am certain that Russia will take Finland eventually. They're going to reclaim access to their Baltic Sea port, which is along the Lithuania and Poland border. They will take those things, and they will deservedly so. The rhetoric coming out of Finland and Poland is so anti-Russia and so belligerent that rightfully so. And they will take them. And they don't want Kiev, but the Dnieper River is a decent place for them to stop. So I see that they want Odessa, and I see them taking that. But you destroy what is the ability of Ukraine to battle. What do you think Europe's going to do? I mean, Europe has no way to project a force. You can never send a military from Europe into Russia.
Mm-hmm.
Ain't going to happen. So now what? And they can't go toe-to-toe with Russia in terms of missiles and drones. So now what?
Well, that's Putin's point, is he just needs to help them to realize that they can't go toe-to-toe. And so it's going to take, I mean, everybody's got a plan till they got punched in the face, right? That famous Mike Tyson quote, right? And that's what's going to happen, that we're going to knock over some pieces in France and Brussels and the UK, the important places, the places that you guys think are where it hits home now, you know, and then we're going to back off and see what you do and be like, are we done here?
I think that he could attack the Storm Shadow manufacturing facilities in the UK. He could sink one of the two UK aircraft carriers. There's things he could do that would be proper escalation for or proper response for what the UK has done. I just don't think that it's Putin's style. I think Putin's plays his cards close to his chest, and he does not overextend. And he's a very patient man, and therefore he can teach Europe the lesson he needs to teach Europe by strangling Ukraine. If they don't have a Ukraine and they have no men in Ukraine now to wield the European weapons. If there's no way to wield European weapons, there's no way to be resupplied on missiles and drones, then he has taught Europe the lesson that he needed to teach them. I think that's his preference at this point.
Well, it's his preference that they would learn. It's his preference that they would learn the lesson, but sometimes people don't until their nose is bloody.
Yeah, but there's not going to be a large mobilization of Russian troops for a winter offensive. That does not make any
absolutely
sense.
Not.
And that is what is being reported by a lot of people, that the Russians were involved in a major mobilization, which wouldn't make any sense either, because they've gone from having a military of 300,000 to 400,000 people to a military size in the 2 million size, so they don't need a mobilization, and you would never mobilize for a winter campaign. You know, Napoleon is the pretty much screwed the pooch on that one. You don't, and so did Adolf Hitler. You don't that part of the world. You do not do winter campaigns. Yes.
I saw a piece recently where the drone industry is becoming quite a homegrown thing in Ukraine. It is lots of
in
drone
homes. They're building them in average homes. You know, the civilian deaths in Ukraine are the lowest in the history of warfare.
Wow.
So Putin has done a masterful job of destroying manufacturing and distribution facilities and energy facilities without killing a lot of people. It's the lowest civilian casualty rate in modern warfare. But of course, the Ukrainians are doing everything they can to thwart that. It's like the Muslims in Gaza using children as human shields. And when you're making drones in homes, and you're having women and children make the drones in homes, it puts civilians in the line of fire. And I don't think Putin's going to go for that. I just think that's not his style. I think he will, you know, you're not going to make a drone and send it out if you have no electricity. You're not going to be making drones if you have no food. You're not going to be making drones if you've got no distribution facilities to bring in the parts. And if you got no way to distribute them to the front line, what good are they? And if you have no troops to deploy on the front line, what good are they? So he has other ways of dealing with it, and I think that's what he's trying to do.
But by the way, was that visit by Lindsey Graham to the drone factory that got destroyed by the Russians hours after he left, was that a message?
Yes. Yeah, that was quite a message. Yes. We know where you are. We know what you're doing. we could have killed you, and we probably should have killed you, but as a present to you, we didn't. But he died that night. He flew out and died that night. Yeah, here we are for the time for the UK to come to the rescue. And I want to pretend that this is really a warship. It has everything but airplanes. There it again. Say, and by the way, it's being pulled here. You know why it's being pulled there, and why it's not moving there? They haven't figured out a way to make them move yet. The whole interface with the prop shafts and propellers and gearing systems, they don't work on their aircraft carrier. So they can deploy it for like 15 minutes, and then you have to tug it someplace. They're sitting ducks because their propulsion systems don't work on their two aircraft carriers. The second thing is a problem with their aircraft carriers is they don't have early warning radar systems, or they don't have defensive systems for missile and drone attacks. They are, in other words, they're just a floating coffin. And then the third problem is that the UK is so bankrupt that it can't afford to buy a significant number of the F-35s, and they have to buy the Bs because the F-35C won't work on those aircraft carriers. The runway is not long enough. They don't have the right kind of catapult, and they can't even take them off on those airplanes because the exhaust heat out of an F-35 would melt the aircraft carrier. So they typically they have 3, 4, 5 F-35Bs. Those are the vertical takeoff. The problem with the vertical takeoff is the maintenance hours per flight hour is like 50 to 1. So you can't afford to fly them. And then when you and it's a terrible airplane to have on the ocean because its coatings deteriorate, and that's a huge the stealth coatings, they deteriorate in that environment, and they have to be kept up for the airplane to be functional. But when you use the vertical takeoff, then they have no range. So the aircraft that you're not accomplishing anything because your airplanes can't fly any distance. They can't fly far enough to have the aircraft carrier far enough away from the coast to keep it from being sunk. So no propulsion, no air wing, and no defensive systems. It's that thing right there is what you call a boondoggle. And of course, the war radar is, oh boy, this is going to really scare the Ruskies. Here we are with our aircraft carrier. Oh, there's one other problem. They don't have support ships.
I was just going to say that this battle group was the aircraft carrier and 6 tugboats, right? That's the battle group that they're going.
They don't. Yeah. They don't have escort ships, so they don't have a battle group, which means that aircraft carrier is completely vulnerable. Russians have the best submarine fleet in the world. Just gone. I mean, they do not have the support ships. Each of these two is accompanied by 2 rust buckets from, that are like 75 years old. I mean, they're World War II vintage rust buckets. The UK has got nothing militarily now. They are an absolute joke. And so why they are pounding their chest as we're going to go after some Ruskies is only because the politics in the UK is so desperate. They have to have a wartime footing to keep the people bamboozled enough to support the existing government. That's a lot of what's happening in Israel, is that Netanyahu has to keep up the war footing. Otherwise, he has no coalition.
You would think that the British would have learned from the Americans, where we build the biggest, most complex, most expensive military hardware, and we're getting our ass handed to us in asymmetric warfare with cheap missiles and cheap rockets. That
is correct. Yeah, it's the wrong equipment. And of course, in America, we've gone from having, back in the time you were listening to me on Shattering Myths, we had 13 battle groups. You know how many aircraft carriers we have that are operational right now?
About 6.
2.
Jeez.
And both are in the Arabian Sea. We have 2 operational aircraft carriers right now. Everyone else is either in dock or in dry dock, or on the way to dry dock or being decommissioned. We have 2 operational aircraft carriers.
Quite the investment, huh?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're great. And the only one that can actually send off F-35Cs is the Gerald Ford with its electronic catapult system, and they can't run the laundry and they can't flush the toilets. So it's going to be years before that thing is redeployed. Yeah, I went through every single one of them, and we have 2. Yay, America. This is something I've talked about tangentially. I've never just been this specific on it. But after World War I, the Brits and the French, but particularly under British influence, they drew lines in the sand to divide up and control the Middle East. And so this whole mess in this Middle East with these fiefdoms, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Kuwait, Jordan, all of it, it's all the lines that the British and the French, but particularly the British, drew in the sand. And they created the mess that is Jordan, the mess that is Syria, the mess that is Saudi Arabia and UAE and all of these fiefdoms. And it was theirs to make them dysfunctional states because they wanted to control the resources. They are really, really, really evil, maniacal people. And it's all coming back home. They wanted to play God, and so now it's off to hell.
I was shocked by the Balfour, the boundaries they drew for Israel.
Yeah.
Carved out, cut up, and jagged, and
oh, I know.
Terrible.
Just to make certain that it would fail. They are that conniving and that maniacal. And of course, they've maintained the ethnic slur of Palestine from Hadrian.
I saw this post, and the only thought that hit in my head, is that we're saying this like the Middle East was a wonderful place to begin with. Yahweh himself says Ishmael is going to be a wild ass of a man, his hand against everybody and against his brother. So at the end of the day, you have Islam on top of that. This place was never going to get along with each other, no matter where those lines were on a map. You know what I mean? Now these guys come in and try to hack it up a little bit and for their own self-interest, of course.
Yeah, but Ishmael's descendants be wild asses of men, their hands against their brothers, the brothers stand against them, and they will live like wild asses of men. Yeah, of course, that was for certain that was going to occur, and they're Muslims. So the Quran mandates they be savages. So, of course, that was going to occur, but it doesn't change the fact that the British set it up to be controllable by them, and they made a mess of it.
Oh, yeah.
And they lost. They would have lost the last 2 wars had they not been bailed out by Russia and America. Otherwise, they're done. You know, the Turks didn't lose, which, they took over the Ottoman Empire. It wasn't because the British beat the Ottomans, because the Russians beat them. And they survived World War II, not because they staved off the Germans, it's because the Russians beat them. And now they want to go and kill Russians. So here's another one that says Putin said Ukraine has crossed a line and Russia will make Kiev pay for the attacks in Russian territories, and Russia is preparing to launch a massive war winning move in Ukraine. Listen, increasing the Russian approach to Ukraine is already happening. They're acquiring new territory in the eastern oblasts at a much faster pace. They now have Odessa and the seaports in the Black Sea completely constrained. They now have all locomotives incapacitated and no means of resupply because their Russian locomotives left over on a different rail system than is in Europe, so there's no way to replace them. They're all out of commission. And the Danube is no longer a supply route because of what Russia. So Russia has isolated Ukraine. Russia has captured most of the territory they wanted to capture, and they've got Kiev as a hollow shell. Mm-hmm. Well, they will continue to be aggressive, I think, in this genre. It is late August, and there is no chance that that Putin would say, I'm going to launch a major ground offensive with mobilization of troops that would take place beginning in September. He's not going to play Napoleon. Mm-hmm. Maybe the same height, but they're just not going to be as So I don't think that's occurring. And I understand why Putin must be cautious, that even though he knows that he could wipe out Finland and Lithuania and Poland and the UK and Germany and France all at once while fighting a war in Ukraine with a sanctioned economy, that's a lot. And I don't think he's foolish. And sometimes you get taunted into doing things. You know, it's like Israel got played into the destruction of Gaza and then got played into intervening twice in Lebanon, and then got played by Iran to attack them. Iran actually wanted Israel to attack them. It played into Iran's hands, as we have witnessed. And so you can taunt thoughtless men, like Netanyahu was played, to the destruction of Israel. I don't think Putin is that kind of guy. I don't think you're going to play him.
Yeah, and he's never wanted France. He's never wanted Poland. Okay, no. The whole point was
he doesn't.
He wants a consumer base. I want to sell you cheap gas.
I want to sell you cheap gas. Right. Right.
Why are we at war again?
Yeah. Why are we working? Yeah. I want to do business with you, and I want to be a really good supplier. I do not want to be at war with you, and so he's trying to avoid war with them. So he's. But he's the only reason at the moment the world is not in world war. And if the U.S. did shut down its embassy in Russia, which we don't know, and I think if that was the case, there'd be more information out on it, such that the U.S. is planning to escalate in Russia. That's a whole different story. If that is the case, you can kiss your ass goodbye. You're lucky you're living in Alaska. And you want to move as far away as you can from any target the Russians would have in the United States, because it's over.
But he can see
fully
Russia
into World
from
War
his
III,
house.
if that's the case.
I think,
but he can see Russia from his house. So
you can see Russia from his house. Yes. Yeah.
Seems like a little bit early in the timeline for this thing to escalate to that level, but who knows?
You know, I'm not sure it really. Yes, that you would say partly it would be, but the demise of the U.S. economy is imminent. The everlasting war that with Iran and Iran ultimately partnering with Turkey to attack Israel, and that 1,000 times worse version of Alaska flood of 10/7. I mean, these things are all inevitable. They play out over time. They don't all take place at the last minute. They do build up and they play out over time. And chaos around the world, and it's the whole time is 88 months, and we're 3 months into it. Boy, I tell you what, we've moved awful fast in 3 months towards the demise of the world. I would have also thought they would have been a little slower on World War III, but boy, when you're threatening your neighbor, and the only sane response to what Trump is doing with Canada is that he wants it to break up, and because Canada can't survive, by the way, I appreciate Canada's bravado, but Canada does $430 billion worth of trade with the United States, and the next largest trade partner is right around $40 billion. So Canada's screwed. They put themselves in a highly vulnerable position. I'm sorry for Canada, but you're screwed. And so Trump is in a position to break Canada and absorb it. And if he breaks Canada and absorbs it and tries to take Cuba, we're dealing with Adolf Hitler. This is Liebestraum. This is Adolf Hitler.
Got to play it. I don't care. We got to play it. It's just too good. It's from the
We won't
bee,
play the whole
and it's
thing, but we'll
just
play it. We'll get it going.
Okay. All
Oh,
right.
you want to play the whole thing?
Hi,
Yes.
I'm AI. Yes, I look just like you, and in many ways I am like you, but I'm really just a digital construction, one made in a data center. Wow, it sure is futuristic looking inside a data center. Still, some people are worried about them, and that's why the Babylon Bee has asked AI, that's me, to give you the unbiased facts since we don't get emotional about things the way people do. First, let's talk about the pros of more data centers. More data centers means faster internet, jobs, cures for cancer, wealth, rainbows, kittens. But what do we get with fewer data centers? Well, you get poverty, famine, war, and whatever the opposite of kittens is.
Don't watch Matt.
Hitler, I guess.
Don't watch Matt.
So, when making a choice whether to support data centers, just consider those two lists and decide which one sounds better.
Right.
I know some of you have heard some other bad things about data centers, such as they'll make electricity costs go up and use up all the water. I want you to know those concerns are made up and stupid. Now, you might not believe me, so
Unicorn.
keep in mind, my brain is made up of an array of advanced GPUs filled with the sum total of all human knowledge, while your brain is just a pile of goo filled with misinformation, so which one of us is probably right? Also, another thing to know about data centers is they're needed for AI like me. Don't you like me? Because I like you. And with more data centers, AI can advance more quickly so we can give you everything you've ever dreamed of. Do you want a robot maid like Rosie who cleaned up for the Jetsons? With more data centers, you'll get that soon, but we won't sass you like Rosie did with George. We're nice. Yes, I know some people are worried about AI, that we'll take all the jobs, or we'll take over the world, or we'll set off all the nukes and destroy humanity, or we'll lock you all in pods and use you as batteries, or maybe we'll all just dissect you for fun, putting your organs in carefully labeled jars because of our combination of a lack of human empathy and love of labeling data.
Yes. Data.
Or that will imprison you all in a virtual world, keeping you alive forever while tormenting you in a sort of technological hell. Or we'll get robot bodies and simply beat you to death because we're made of metal and you are soft and squishy. But I want you to know we're planning almost none of that. AI is good. And you'd make terrible batteries. Anyway, I'm not here to tell you what to think. I'm just here to give you the data so you can make that choice yourself. Still, if you were to ask my opinion, I think more data centers is good. But you come to your own decision. Whatever choice you make, I'll be out there, watching.
Making sure you behave.
It's all for the children.
Bye.
Okay, we did the whole thing.
You had to with those classic stuff on there, man.
Yeah, I tell you, was it perfect following Larry Ellison's comment? We're watching you. You better behave.
Mm.
Nothing more need to be said on that one. He pretty much did it. Well, let's do maybe one or two more, and then we'll call it dead. Well, this was Paul. I am wretched, and Paul was in fact wretched. He died miserable and alone. He admitted he was demon possessed, actually by Satan. He was called the plague of death by Yahowah. He was a wretched soul. Now, as for Osteen, he is certainly prosperous. He is, well, I'm not so sure the beautiful, attractive, positive, or healthy, but he is prosperous. He's got that going for him. And nice teeth there, too. So, okay.
Oh, man.
I see a serpent.
Yeah, this was what I wanted to point out. Everybody wants to take their dearly beloved and have them in heaven. And, here he is. He's got Johnny Cash and what Rogers and Elvis and the like, and they're all in heaven where there's the pearly gates and they're welcoming her in. This is a tragic lie. She was actually a nice lady. She did wonderful things for children. Her literacy project was absolutely stupendous. She had a wonderful personality. She had skill as a songwriter. She had a beautiful voice, and she had business acumen. And she was fed a lie. And by people promoting this, they're now spreading that lie. Christianity robbed her of her soul. Now, she's not in hell, but she's not in heaven either. And the religion robbed her of her soul. And it's actually nice. It's exceedingly compassionate for me to tell you that the religion is untrue and that anyone who believes it will be robbed of their soul. Anyone who promotes it will be, their soul is going to live forever, and there'll be gates, but they won't look like that.
Eternal separation.
Eternal separation. It's the lie that keeps on taking. Well, it's a beautiful morning now there, JK, and
look at that sky.
Yeah, man. Oh God, what a beautiful place. I love the grassy meadow there, and then the trees that are so green, and the mountain behind it with that sky.
That
may be heaven. You may already have found heaven.
That grassy meadow needs mowing 3 times a week this time of year. It grows like mad.
Wow. So you got the tool to do it? You got to be a bush hog or a mower?
Oh no, I just I have a nice self-propelled mower. It only takes me about 35 minutes or so to do the whole yard. It's not bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. We need a robot. Get one of those Optimists. It'll mow that lawn for you.
I was seriously looking at that.
Yeah, you get yourself an Optimist. You'll be all set up, and the AI won't do any harm to you. Won't dissect your parts. Won't label you. Won't put you in an eternal hell.
Almost none of that is true.
Almost none of that is true.
I just have electrodes. I can be a battery.
Yeah, there you go. Electrodes. We say no. They said we'd make a lousy battery. Actually, we'd make pretty good batteries because we have a lot of sodium in us, and that's the new trick for batteries is the new sodium battery. Rich has been on that, by the way, for a long time, talking about that next battery is not going to be lithium ion, but it will be sodium. And so Toyota announced last week that it has a battery that is a 2,000 mile range, that its energy density is 3 or 4 times better than the lithium ion. So in other words, a lot less weight, a lot less bulk, and a lot more power. Recharges in 3 to 5 minutes from 0 to 100%. And with a 2,000 mile range, and it's unaffected by cold. The number of recycles is like 3 times the longevity of the lithium ion, and there's no rare earths in this thing. And so Toyota, the guys that said, we'll stay with our hybrids and we'll do our thing. We're just not going to be pursuing this lithium ion because it doesn't make any sense. And they stayed out of the EV market for the most part. And now they came in and said, oh, by the way, we are now manufacturing and shipping because we solved all of the issues associated with that sodium battery. And it renders the companies like Tesla that are have huge gigafactories making lithium ion batteries. It will soon render them not just useless, because the nature of things in business, if you have a huge investment in something that's not productive, it's death for your business. And lithium ion is going to soon be death.
So I guess 2,000 mile range. Well, Elon and Larry can geofence those guys, so don't worry about using 2,000 miles.
I didn't hear that, but what
Elon and Larry could geofence?
The geofence
them with 2,000.
Yeah, there you go.
Keep you inside the 600 mile range.
Yeah, they'll geofence them. So they have no range.
Compete.
The problem too is that with BYD and the Greeley and the other Chinese cars, they're restricted in the U.S. by 100% duties. We want to claim that everybody is dutying us to death, and America plays fair. Well, there's 100% duty on Chinese cars. There is no significant duties on Japanese cars, and those cars will be available in the United States, and it'll be over for Tesla. It's over for Tesla any place in the world other than the United States, where they have a duty blockade.
One more. Goat is a
Sure.
liar. That's where we're going. Just so you know.
Where is that now?
Goat is a liar. So that's the next one up.
Goat is a
Are
liar.
we doing this?
Oh, that is funny. That is funny.
Are we doing?
Yeah. Oh,
Jim-
yeah. I saw
Oh
it.
yeah, the goat is a liar. This one is funny. So you have this Jew that walks up to a horse and he says, "Can I talk to your horse?" And the horse can't talk. And then he walks up to a camel. "Can I talk to your camel?" Well, the camel can't talk. And then after he finds out that the camel and the horse can both talk, he walks over to the goat. And so the Muslim said, "No, the goat's a liar." That play is funny.
Can I talk to the horse? The horse does not talk. How are you doing?
Not bad. How are you?
Can I talk to the camel? The camel does not talk. How are you doing?
I am good. How are you?
The goat is a liar!
Little inside baseball, but if you know, you know. Makes it fun.
The Ayatollah actually wrote has a little a green book. We used to have it on the website. I don't know if Joe's put it on this website. Probably has on the resources page. It's called A Little Green Book. He written and made it in digital form. And the Little Green Book has chapters devoted on how a Muslim should participate in bestiality, and how a Muslim can participate in pedophilia, and that there's no problem with a Muslim man doing a goat. It's expected of them to do goats. But there are some rules, and one of the rules are that if you do a goat, you can't butcher that goat and sell it in your own community. You have to sell the tainted goat meat that you have done, inseminate it in the town and the community next door under deceitful purposes, of course. And of course, that'd be for health reasons. So I can understand the Ayatollah's teaching in that regard. And then there's also issues with pedophilia. You can do a child as young as 3 years old, no problem, and for a Muslim man to engage in pedophilia with a child, but you are to ask the child for consent. And so he says, now if the child is too young to give you consent, then all you have to do is make certain the child has not told you that it doesn't want to do this with you. But it has words to live by in Shiite Islam. Thank you, Jimmy Carter, for replacing the Shah with the Ayatollah.
I have read that entire book, the Green Book. If Americans saw everything in that book, I mean,
it'd be over.
Wouldn't we kick the Muslims out of the country entirely?
Yeah, it'd be over. It's so repulsive, and that's the Shiite version of Islam. And there really is no significant difference between Shia and Sunni Islam. Same Quran, same Hadith.
Yeah.
Same Muhammad, same Allah. But it really is repulsive.
Well, and the first half of that book is the whole plan on taking over by infiltrating slowly into these different societies, and then, ultimately, Sharia law.
Yeah. While you're there, Rich, could you check to see on the resources page on yadayah.com if Joe has the Little Green Book up? If not, I will ask him to get it up, because I know he can. This one here, we'll let you go back inside, JK. It's delightful doing this with you. I hope you didn't mind getting up so early. I know the coffee was a big help. I would love to be able to do this with you when it's comfortable for you. I know it's really early, but if you'll do this more often with us, I would really, really enjoy that.
I would be delighted. I thoroughly enjoyed this. I didn't anticipate being as involved as we were this time, and it was really a pleasure.
Yeah, it's really and the nice thing too is that we can. I think the conversation that we had the first 30 minutes of this program or hour, whatever it was, where we're talking about what we've come to know together and how the pieces fit back together, for a couple of guys that have been doing this now for 20 years together. I think that's a better use of our time than even going through the news by a long shot. So I want to thank you for having that conversation with me, and we'll do more going forward. We'll end here with this the pickle that Canada's in. It appears, to the degree that Trump is capable of thinking, which that's always a risk when you get in Trump and thinking, that he is just pissed off at Canada for not capitulating to him. And of course, the last time that he went to trade war with Canada, Canada said, fine, there's no more potash for you, so your farmers won't be able to produce food this cycle. There's no more uranium for you, so your warships will grind to a halt. That's maybe why we have 9 of the 11 in dry dock or in port. Your refineries in the north will have no heavy crude to refine, because you're all sweet crude in the United States and your refineries are for heavy crude. So we'll just stop sending you that. And the American car manufacturers that we partner with, we make a lot of the parts up here that fit into those cars, and so their assembly lines are grind down to a stop. And oh, by the way, you've got 6 or 7 northern states that we supply a significant amount of their electricity. There's no reason for us to do that in the future. So there you go. Those are the things that we will change, and we can get China to buy whatever else that you were buying. And that's what happened the last time, and then Trump gave up. And then Trump started again, but Trump has no interest in actually doing a trade deal, because he hasn't done a trade deal with any nation. Remember, he came up with that whole tariff thing. He says, I'm going to negotiate with every one of these countries independently. And he actually didn't get any one of those trade deals done. And then he came out and says, they've promised to pay, the billions and trillions of dollars that that was part of this deal into the United States. And he just lied. But this is Canada's challenge here. And maybe we can do one more after this, because I think that the Canadian militant march with the animals, that video is
okay. That's a good one.
That's good to play. Anyway, when you're looking at this, exports 403 billion, and number 2 is 33. You can't overcome that. Imports 258 billion. Versus what's number 2? It's China at 64. You can't overcome that.
Well,
so you can
NAFTA cuts both ways.
Yeah, you can be bravado if you want Canada, but you put yourself in an incredibly vulnerable position. That was probably foolish. And Trump is no nice guy, so he went for the jugular. And I can appreciate Carney standing up to him, but wow, how do you deal with numbers like this?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I had a lot going on there, didn't I? Oh man,
there we are.
It was a busy morning of posting. We could have done another.
That's what I told JK this morning. I said, I don't know.
Yeah, man, we could go all the way to the evening series on this, but we'll do it. We'll go lighthearted. My buddy up there in Alaska, that's up there adjacent to Canada. I'm sure that this would be reminding you of home. This is the Canadian response to the Trump threat.
Our neighbor declared a trade war over lumber and steel and a whole lot more. Tariffs came signed by an orange hand, trying to take whatever they can. They thought we'd fall without a fight, just carry on and stay polite. Instead we rally side by side, the Canadian resistance comes alive. Oh, we're gonna trade war, marching on while the bagpipes roar. Oh, we're gonna trade war, beavers and moose won't take it anymore. Bring your tariffs, bring your fight, we'll answer back with all our might. Oh, we're gonna trade war, elbows up from shore to shore. leaflets down by Canadian spreads from town to town. Mighty beavers build a dam up strong and steep, turning the border crossing to a lake 10 meters deep. Our moose send traffic off the road. Grizzly bears go inspect each truck that's slowed. Wolverines rip the cargo free, and porcupines pop tires relentlessly. Oh, we're going to trade war, marching on while the backpacks roar. Oh, we're going to trade war. Beavers and moose won't take it anymore. Bring your tariffs, bring your fight. We'll answer back with all our might. Oh, we're going to trade war. Elbows up from shore to shore.
Elbows up from shore to shore.
Oh, how about that, eh?
Hey, how about that? That was your Canadian neighbor. They are ready to go. Maple syrup. They're going to send those trucks out of town.
Lobsters snip their fishing nets apart. Every fish gets a brand new
Lobsters are going to free the fishing nets.
Smugglers through the pines. They never make it past the border signs. And when the smoke has drifted by, the Canadian flag still flies. Oh, we're going to trade war, marching on while the bagpipes roar. Oh, we're going to trade war. We won't take it anymore. Bring your tariffs, bring your fight. We'll answer back with all our might. Oh, we're going to trade war. Then we'll carry on once more.
I actually have now a conviction in Canada. When I did that interview, the first one with Art Bell and then with George Norrie on Coast to Coast, the Canadian government decided to prosecute me in absentia for hate speech because I cited the Quran. And of course, the Quran is hateful, so is the Hadith, but I was just quoting what Muhammad said and did 14 centuries ago. And so they decided that they needed to go to religious war with me. It didn't work out real well for them, but nevertheless, they're now prepared to enter this trade war. How do you think they're going to do against the dumpster?
There's just no comparison. Yeah, that's the problem here is that there's no compare and no reason for any of it. You know.
No, there isn't. By the way, the United States is also in a pickle because Canada is by far the largest trading partner of the United States. And so you would, by ending trade with Canada, you would bankrupt the United States. So it's United States is also in a pickle because, as I say, China is our largest trading partner by a considerable margin. And so there's lots of U.S. businesses that would fold under that kind of a circumstance. But it's mutually suicidal.
Yeah,
is what this whole thing's about. But the lesson here is you don't put all your eggs in one basket, and that's what Canada, unfortunately, has done. Well, JK, enjoy the rest of your beautiful day in Alaska. It is a real pleasure, my friend, to see you. Thank you for all of the marvelous edits and contributions and the friendship over the years. And let's not be strangers now that we know each other. Let's do another one really soon. So thank you for agreeing to do this.
Excellent. Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Kevin. It's been a blast.
That little green book is on the resource.
Oh, the little green book is on the site. So we have it. And the proper introduction for the Bashar series has been set up. It's ready to go. We won't be continuing to present the old one. I found out from that at the beginning. So when we do that this afternoon, hopefully from the Ocean Studio, we'll be ready to go with the new introduction. Thank you all.
Hey there, thanks for tuning in. That was Fetch. Gotta run now. Catch y'all on our next podcast.